You're listening to South Niagara Conversations, a podcast presented by the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, along with 105.1 The River and 101.1 More FM. Here are your hosts, Dolores Fabiano and Chris Burns.
Well, good morning, and thanks to everyone who's joined us for our South Niagara Conversation series. For those of you who are tuning in from afar, we represent the communities of Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Welland, and Pelham. We're located in Southern Ontario, a wonderful place to live, work, and play. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Small Business Enterprise Center, City of Niagara Falls. They're great supporters of our chamber and of our local business community as well. This morning, we're going to continue our conversation on the incredible development happening in our municipalities across South Niagara. Welland does seem to be leading the pack in terms of not only housing developments, but also commercial and industrial. Dying to hear all of the details, so we're going to get right to it. This morning, we're going to welcome Lina Dechellis. She's the Manager of Economic Development for the City of Welland, along with Grant Mundy. He's the Director of Planning and Development Services. Lina, let's get started. Let's start with an overview of the City of Welland so people understand what makes our city so great.
Okay. So the City of Welland, we're a population of just over 55,000. Welland has always been, an industrial, was known as an industrial city. We are still that. The industries have, retooled, changed. We are no longer, the large, maybe typical industrial where you've seen at one time, the 2,000-3,000 employees. However, we do have a number of great industries in Welland, much smaller scale, but we do see many of them starting to expand in the last several years. We've attracted new industry over the last number of years. One being at the time was GE. It's now INEO, and that's probably one of our largest facilities here in Welland. It's almost 500,000 square feet. They employ over 200 employees, so it was a fantastic addition to Welland. And recently, over the years, we've attracted Kit Steel, Northern Gold Foods, Intervision Greens. So there are a number of industries that chose Welland to expand or relocate. And Welland has a lot of recreational facilities, which we'll probably touch on a little bit later. And we have a lot of small, industries or businesses that have been in Welland for many years.
Mm-hmm. So I started my chamber career in Welland, and I'm born and raised in Welland. So, I really resonate with the community. And I remember when I first started, we still had the big five. And so we had 5 big industrial operations in town. And, everybody knew someone who worked at one of those, right?
Right.
And, slowly they all left, closed, whatever. Right. And I remember the last one was John Deere. That was the last one that closed. And, the community was really, and Lina, you were there in economic development at the time. The community was really in mourning because it was such a shock, such a change, such a challenge. And we were kind of scratching our heads like, now what? But man, oh man, we've come out of it stronger. And we were just saying before we actually went live with this podcast that sometimes when you have these challenges, it really does force you to think outside the box. And I think, with economic development, the goal was really to go after advanced manufacturing. So still, that manufacturing, but different, right?
Exactly. Yeah, just a different type of manufacturing. And you're right. I started in those days when these industries were closing, and
we're aging ourselves.
It was devastating because, like you said, it was our family members, it was our friends, and it was it really affected people in the community and our community. But you're right, we've come a long way.
Yeah. So I know that advanced manufacturing is one of your pillars, is one of the things, key sectors. What else? What else makes Welland Welland?
So advanced manufacturing, but also, and one of our newer sectors, which, Welland hadn't seen, was the food processing.
Yeah.
We have, like I mentioned earlier, Northern Gold Foods, who's expanded. They have a facility that I believe it's around 170,000 square feet total. We have Intervision Greens that, produce leafy greens, and they're actually doing an expansion as well. So that's kind of another sector for us that we never really had in Welland. And then, of course, I think a big thing is our sports tourism as well, is another, kind of sector that we look at.
Yeah, and we're going to get more to that because it's really cool. So in terms of attracting, the industries, I think part of the strategy was the foresight that many councils ago, they invested in, along the 140, servicing land and having it available, which isn't something that all communities have. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that was really smart thinking.
It is, and I think that's what's made it so successful over the years, is when you look at the number of industrial parks that the city actually owned. We currently have, property remaining in our 7th. So that just goes to show you, the land that we've had that's, shovel ready. So if somebody's interested, they just come, get their permits. It's ready for them to go. And it was important. The first, I think, couple sites we had were the Southwell Industrial Park, which, we sold out. And so it is important for a community, I believe, to have their own serviced industrial land. It just makes the process, I think, quicker for somebody that's looking to invest. And when it's shovel ready, it's that much more important to them. They can just come, they know they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And so do we still have serviced available shovel ready land?
We do. In our River Road Industrial Park, we have 2 larger parcels remaining. And we're getting actually a lot of interest in those 2 sites. So I'm not sure how much longer we will have them, but right now we do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good news. And so I know that we touched on, again, just before we hopped on the podcast, we were talking about brownfield sites, and Welland's had quite a bit of luck, I guess, or success. Let's say success in revitalizing brownfield sites. Can we talk about that a little bit? I don't know if it's Lina or Grant, but
maybe I'll let Grant touch on that a little bit more, because we also have the incentive program for the brownfields. So
yeah, just aren't aware, brownfields are sites that were contaminated from previous uses, and with Welland being an industrial city, and most cities had previous industrial activities that contaminated lands. And so what we've done is we've come up with a brownfield community improvement plan, and that was done in partnership with the region. And that's allowed us to help attract people and investors to purchase brownfields, and allows us to partner with them in helping to get that particular piece of land cleaned up. Because for the city, contaminated lands could potentially be leaching into the recreational canal, which is our drinking water source. And so it makes sense for us to try to get these properties remediated. So we offer incentives to try to defray the cost of the cleanup and redevelopment of the site. And actually, we found for every dollar that we put into these, we're getting $14 back in economic investment. And then we're getting a cleaned up piece of property, the economic investment, and the new tax base as well for the city and region and the province.
So that's a good return on investment for sure. Can you share with us some examples of who we've attracted to some of those sites?
Yes, one of the major ones right now is the Empire Homes redevelopment, which is comprised of the former John Deere lands and former Transport Canada lands along the shipping canal. And I go into detail about that development, but basically they're proposing approximately 2,190 dwelling units plus a commercial block, and the city is offering has approved them for as an approved brownfield CIP application. And as part of that, Empire Homes is constructing a $2.7 million sports park at the Flatwater Center, which Lina will speak about later. They're offering $0.5 million in naming rights to the sports park, put their name on it. $3 million for design and construction of parks and trails. Normally in subdivisions, we don't get the parks developed, we just get the land. In this case, they'll be developed with actually facilities. They've given us $100,000 to create a community trail strategy, which we've done. And then $6.3 million to realign Canal Bank Street. And that's in process. $4.3 million to upgrade Forks Road, and also $5 million to reconstruct the Forks Road Bridge. And as part of this brownfield incentive, the city's offering up approximately $20 million in tax incentives over an extended period of time, $2 million in building permit rebates, and $4 million in development charge exemptions. This development is leveraging private sector investment of approximately $478 million. And that includes the $36 million in cleanup costs. So the great news here is the Forks Road Bridge is going to be replaced as part of this brownfield redevelopment plan. And it appears that by the end of the year, the mobilization will begin for that bridge, and it'll take approximately 14 months to complete. The good news here is that brownfields are being remediated as part of this. We have a significant economic investment, a huge increase in tax base for the city and region, new parks, trails, sport facility, upgraded roads, infrastructure, and a new bridge. Yeah. It's a great partnership that's leveraging huge gains for the city, and also allowing Empire Homes to develop their product as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. That's the development that's happening out in Dean City. And so is that's not normal, right? For the developer to do all of that?
It varies from project to project, depending on the scale of it. In this case, Empire Homes, they like to actually develop the community facilities. They like to have those in place before they start the housing, so buyers can see, this is what I'm getting: this trail, this new sports facility, these nice parks with a splash pad, new roads, the bridge is there. They can see what they're getting before the housing goes in. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And so over 2,000 homes, you said, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so that's over a period of what time? So
it's hard to really know. The first this year they plan on, my understanding is they plan on submitting 300 building permits in the spring. So we've already been sort of working with them in terms of how will we process these in an expeditious manner.
Right.
So then I would say probably, it's hard to say, it's going to be 5 to 10 years, I think, by the time it's done.
Right.
From the whole site. It's quite significant in size, 146 hectares, 362 acres of land that's being developed. So, yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we one of our podcasts was on the housing market here in Niagara. And I mean, people keep moving in. We're seeing it right across Niagara. We just can't build the homes fast enough. And we're also seeing that there's different types of housing being built. So, there's condos and there's townhouses and the traditional homes. And, we live in Welland, and Grant, you're in Port Colborne. That's not typically what we're used to seeing here in Niagara. We don't, typically have condos, and that's not part of our life down here. So I guess my question is, how do we maintain the balance, of that quality of life, that we've all become accustomed to with, space and backyards, and building the new type of housing that is definitely required? Like, how do you balance that?
Oh yes, that's the big question. In 2010, when the city did their official plan, I wasn't at the city then, but they really made a conscious attempt to try to create more opportunities for growth along sort of major roads, major arterials, collectors, transit lines, to get the zoning in place, the official plan designations in place to allow higher density development, to try to direct that development to those areas, to try to avoid kind of impact on low density areas, we'll call them. And so, it is a challenge. But we've had success in doing that in sort of pre-zoning areas, because it tells investors this is the property here, these are the properties here that allow the high density development. We're going to buy there because we don't really want to go through a public process. And like in working with economic development, that was one of the things they showed me. Actually, they brought me to a conference and they said, "Can you go to this planning for economic development course at this thing?" So I went, and I'm like, "What do I need to do that for? I'm an expert in planning. I have the degree and everything." So I went, and of course, the economic development people all said the biggest barrier to economic development is zoning and planning. Is if you're not
the problem.
And so in 2017, we changed our zoning bylaw, which implements our official plan, and we made a whole bunch of changes to try to signal to investors, whether it's residential or industrial, these are the areas where you can do it, and the zoning allows it. You don't need to go through a process. If you want to go to other areas, then you're going to have to go through processes. And we do see some of those, but the bulk of the apartments, actually, there isn't a public process. They've already have the zoning in place. We had a public process when we did our zoning bylaw. And so you see a few come where they're on the edges of neighborhoods. And right now we're in the process of doing a new official plan, and we're going to look at that more in terms of how to blend sort of low density and medium density and high density without negatively impacting the low density areas. I mean, the thing is, we have challenges as well. We have to, under the region's proposed official plan, we're expected to meet a 75% intensification rate, which means that 75% of our growth has to go within the built up area of the city, which is a defined area smaller than the urban area. So we have that challenge as well. The good news is we're meeting it before it's actually being required.
Do you have an idea for a small business? Maybe you're trying to grow a business that you've already started. Whatever the case, the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center is a community service that is here to help, offering entrepreneurs the tools to start and grow their businesses. The Small Business Enterprise Center is your one-stop for free business information and advice. Serving Niagara Falls and South Niagara, learn more about how we can help you and your business succeed at niagarafalls.ca/SBEC.
Well, I have to say, a couple of the condo developments that have happened here in Welland, and specifically, I'm thinking, we talked about it before, the one along the canal by the wellness center. I walk that along there, not in the winter, but in the good weather. And I watched it go up, and it is gorgeous. And it's sitting on the canal, and I can't think of a better facility to be there. Like, it's just spectacular. They're close to the walking trails. They're right on the water. It just, to me, and I'm not a planner, but it just seems really smart to have built something like that there. Yeah. And that's filling up real quick. Is it sold out?
Lina might have more information on that component of it.
So I believe you're referring to the Grand Canal.
Yes.
So that is a retirement community, and I know they are getting a lot of interest in that facility. I think there are still some rooms available, and I actually did take a tour of the facility, and it is you go on the balcony and you see the view, and it's just a fantastic, you have the waterway just right behind you, recreational. And I mean, in the summer, you can see the canoers, kayak, because the rental is just, on the other side of the canal. And you can see all that. The skateboard park is there. It's just a fabulous view. And it was I think a long time coming.
Yeah. I think when I grow up, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
So as we talk about housing, we also want to talk about housing affordability. It's an issue right across the country. Does the city have a strategy to ensure that people are able to continue to afford to live in Welland?
Yes, we do have a strategy in place, and it's currently rooted in our community strategic directions and our city official plan. And one of those strategic directions speaks about creating a complete community with a variety of housing types, including affordable housing. Some of the things we've done to promote this, as I said previously, we've updated our zoning bylaw to allow for more infill development as of right. And this includes such things as allowing accessory dwellings and creating more opportunities for higher density housing, which is helping to create affordability, because there was a vacancy rates were really low in the city for a period of time. They're just under 3% now, but they were even lower. And this has helped to increase more housing in general. We've exempted government and bodies, agencies, and boards from our zoning bylaw, so that if they want to propose a affordable housing project, it can basically be whatever it needs to be. There's no limitations except with respect to infrastructure capacity, but zoning wise, it doesn't apply. So if Niagara Regional Housing comes forward and says, I want to build 100-unit housing on this particular piece of property we own, as long as it can fit on the property, it's permitted. We provide development charge exemptions for nonprofits or charitable groups. So if they do want to provide affordable housing, they can get an exemption on the development charges. We have a memorandum of understanding with Habitat for Humanity that provides certain incentives to them in respect to service laterals and development charge exemptions. We do have our downtown health and wellness CIP and our Brownfield, both of which have and are currently attracting affordable housing projects. But with this said, we know that more needs to be done. There is no silver bullet here with regards to affordable housing. It has to be a multi-pronged approach with participation from the region, province, and federal levels of government. And approximately a year ago, the Welland Affordable Housing Task Force was established, and it was comprised of a number of people interested in housing in Welland, and also there was representatives from the region. And they were basically tasked with looking at housing affordability and provide recommendations to council and help address issues of affordable housing. And one major recommendation they came up with was to form an affordable housing committee of council, and also to produce a community improvement plan that would provide incentives for affordable housing projects. And we're currently actually, here's my pitch. We're currently recruiting for members of this affordable housing committee. And applications are due on Thursday, March 31st by 4:30 p.m. And you can get the application from our website. If you're interested in housing at all or affordability, we apply and your application will be considered. And again, like I said, we're going to be doing a community improvement plan. We started the request for proposal process, and this affordable housing committee, we're actually going to involve them in helping pick which consultant is going to do the affordable housing CIP for the city. So they're actually going to be their first meeting. I'm going to be having them evaluate these proposals so that they are part of the process, and then they'll work with this consultant in developing what are the incentives that the city of Welland is going to offer in addition to what we already have. And so I think it's going to be a really great process, and we hope to have it in place in December this year, and be able to offer a new set of incentives that will help promote affordable housing. We'll also come up with a definition of kind of what is affordable housing.
Sure, yeah.
As it relates to the CIP program.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we had heard about was that landlords who had homes that they were renting out, in this hot market, were selling those homes, and people who were buying them were living in them. They weren't renting them, right? And so that took a bunch of properties off the market in terms of rental properties. So that added to the problem. But I wonder, so we've made some changes so that now people can renovate basements or add on to their homes and they can rent. Has there been a lot of uptake on that?
Yes, absolutely. In 2017, we virtually had 0 accessory dwellings getting permits. As we've thought, though, in looking at different data in South Canada, that people were adding second units because of the difference between building permit numbers and Statistic Canada numbers. We realized that there was units being added, but so when we changed the rules to allow it, it basically increased, immediately. And right now we did 72, I believe, in 2021, which accounted for about 10% of our growth. And this year we're expected to do probably over 100 of these accessory dwelling units. Like I said, it's about 10% of the growth. And making it easy in terms of doing it has actually improved the situation, because we now have people coming in for building permits and making sure that these units are safe. Thought was happening in the past is people they'd hear, you need to get a zoning and then you need to do this, and they're looking at all the costs and they just go home and they just add the unit. Right. And, it's not necessarily safe, and also doesn't get properly assessed by MPAC. It's unfair to other property owners who may not have second units, and, they don't have that income coming in. So they're paying the same taxes, and it's really not fair. So this has actually been beneficial. Allowing it is improved the situation. I know there's some people who are, they haven't seen that before. Neighbors in some cases, when somebody puts a second unit in, they get concerned that now there's an apartment coming in. So we've had some of that, which is understandable. It's a different thing. But I can tell you where I am in Port Colborne, and I'm in a newer area. Many houses have the second units and in them, and it hasn't. In most cases, it's people's parents, children. Yeah. But it hasn't really changed anything. Like, it's not negatively impacted anything. It's, I think, made it more diverse, the community.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you go to Europe, that is how they live, right? Like, I think of all my relatives in Italy, and they all either live in the same house or next to each other, and they just keep adding on. It's just their way of life. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Welland who was one of the first communities here in Niagara to make that change, so that you could add a secondary unit to homes. I think Welland was the first one in the region to do that, to make those changes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, Welland is considered, if you do some Googling on Welland, we're considered one of the top places to invest in second unit. I've seen a number of YouTube videos from real estate agents and stuff, and investors talking about how, and it's not only that, it's our building permit process. It's so efficient, and it's so much better than what they've experienced elsewhere. They're raving about it. It seems like on YouTube, about how easy it is to deal with Welland, and the rules are easy. And like I said, in terms of the problems that may arise, this could happen with any type of house. Property standards issues happen, whether it's rental or ownership. It's across the board. And so we have bylaws in place so that if something gets out of control, garbage or that kind of thing, people can call the city, and our bylaw officers will be out there very quickly and ensuring that it's cleaned up. And like I say, whether it's a rental or a house or a business, the rules are there to ensure that the potential negative impacts are controlled. Yeah, that's good. That's good strategy. So we have to talk about sports tourism in Welland. I know that it's another key sector. We have some incredible state-of-the-art facilities that would blow people's minds if they came to town. So we have to talk about them. Lina, take it away. I mean, there's just so much that you can tell us about.
Yeah, so there is. I mean, we have, the Young Sportsplex, which is the indoor-outdoor soccer, the FIFA, size courts, which also has tennis, indoor tennis. We have the Welland International Water Center, which is amazing for the city, the arena, the baseball stadium, which is now the home of the Welland Jackfish. They joined the city a few years ago. Before that, I mean, that stadium I think was underutilized, so it's fantastic to see them here, and the people that they're going to draw now that we're hopefully beyond COVID, getting out of COVID, and now with the Empire Homes building the outdoor multi-sports complex. I mean, that's another great addition to Welland. It's going to host pickleball, basketball, volleyball, tennis. There's going to be some green space, and with a lot of these, because we have a lot of these facilities, we're hosting a number of the Canada Summer Games as well. There's going to be the basketball and volleyball at Niagara College. I mean, Niagara College, even though they're not city owned, there's still facilities here in Welland for sports. Tennis at the Welland Tennis Club, for the Canada Games. Our flat water center is going to host canoe, kayak, swimming, and triathlon. There's also going to be soccer at the Young Sports List. So it just goes to show how beneficial these facilities are to Welland. And, they're going to attract different people to the area, and they'll get to know the area. And I think too, what the city is looking at doing is they're looking to expand their recreational canal network, specifically east to west. And that's going to make it for easier access for people. And this, with now that these restrictions have been lifted, the Flatwater Center is again starting to host their events for 2022. And my understanding is that we're at numbers pre-pandemic, which is fantastic. So you're going to see the canoeing, the kayaking, the open water swim, the triathlon, the dragon boat. It's all going to be back this summer, which is great to see. So with these facilities, and when you have these events, you draw people from all areas, and it benefits our restaurants, our retail. But also, I think, when you look at the big picture, it also helps maybe with investment. I mean, people coming here, they're business people too. They look at the city and they think, wow, maybe this is a place I want to invest.
What I really love, and I remember, again, gonna date myself, but many years ago, decades really, we were trying to figure out in Welland, where did we fit in the world of tourism, right? Because we're not far from Niagara Falls and Niagara on the Lake, and we're wine countries all around us, but where did we fit? And it was such a smart strategy to follow that sports tourism path, because that is who we are, right? That really is who we are. And when I think back and see how far we've come in terms of development of facilities, that Flatwater course, where we used to do the Dragon Boat Festival.
Yes.
There was nothing there. I mean, we would bring in porta potties for the weekend.
I remember that.
And now, nightmares, right?
Yeah.
But now it's an incredible facility that is second to none. And I'm just so proud of the work that the city has done on developing those types of facilities, because yes, it's our fit in the tourism world, but for quality of our life here in the city, it just really adds so much, and I love it. And of course, we have all of the walking trails that,
yes.
I know that there's more work going on around that, making sure that we're all connected and you can walk or bike or whatever for as long as you want. And it really contributes to our quality of life. So 2 thumbs up, because I'm really proud of all of that. I think that kind of brings us to the end, but any last words from either of you?
No, I guess I do want to say something. I've been here. I lived, born and raised in Welland. I've been here my whole life. And, we've changed over the years, but I think we're going to see a big change in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be a very different city. And I think it's a city that we're all going to be very proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that too.
No, I think I would echo what Lina's saying. We have about 8,000 units in the sort of dwelling units in the application pipeline per se. And so we can see that the growth is going to be significant. But like Lina says, the stuff that's coming forward is going to be impressive. I really think people are going to be impressed. And I don't think it's going to negatively impact people. I think it's going to have a positive impact on the community, and it's going to impact businesses because they're going to have more customers, which is, I think, great for them. And with having all the sort of losses during COVID-19, I think just it's going to help reinvigorate the community, and it's going to be great going forward. It's exciting times to be working in planning. It's not too often you get a chance to work for a place that's so rapidly expanding, and there's so many great projects you can work on. Our staff are just so excited because there's so many different projects going on. It's not slow. There's lots of work going on. The days flying by quick, and so yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's been great for us to hear the updates from all of the communities. Future's bright. It looks great in South Niagara, and we're proud to be here. So thank you so much, Lina and Grant, for joining us today and just providing us with some great insight on what's happening in the City of Welland. Next week, we're going to wrap up our tour of Niagara communities who are booming. We're going to be welcoming Marco Marino. He's the Economic Development Officer for the City of Thorold. We'll learn how they're leveraging the Welland Canal to position the municipality as a place to be. To all of our listeners, send us the topics that you're talking about because we want to talk about them too. Thanks again for tuning in, and have yourselves a great day.